Hello, friends. It's Chapo. It was even less time ago that like Kristen Gillibrand and that other congresswoman senator appeared on like CNBC and was asked like, do you agree with regulators who say it's a bad idea to put like retirement funds into crypto exchanges? And they were like, no, absolutely not. We totally disagree with that. Please, it's a great investment. Go ahead.
Has Gillibrand ever seen anything on Twitter and not gone, oh, that's a great idea?
Well, wasn't Sean McElwee like very much associated with Kristen
he was
Gillibrand?
her Rimmel Wormtongue in her amazingly hilarious 2020 presidential run.
Yep.
Guarantee you that's part of the reason that she became Mrs. Captain Crypto after that.
Yeah, God, that was, talk about not that long ago. That was 3 years ago. Gillibrand tried being a dark horse contender for the presidency by repeating things that she saw on Twitter, that Sean McElwee saw on Twitter.
Yes,
like
he would
going
just tell
out there,
her the latest hot memes, and then she would just spit them out. And they're like, he was thinking, I'm going to the White House. I'm going to be Sam Seaborn.
Yeah, his formula was like, if something got 500 likes, have Senator Gillibrand say it. Have her talk about Rosa Luxemburg.
Well, so whether it's Musk or bank run fraud, things are going great for billionaires right now. But I'd like to end the show with a reading series that returns to an old favorite of ours. This happened this was 2 weeks ago, but I think there's still some juice here. We've just been distracted by Elon in the midterm elections. But bad news, guys. Were you aware that Lucienne Goldberg just died? Jonah Goldberg's mother just passed away. You might remember her from the Clinton impeachment as the woman who basically gave Linda Tripp the idea
to wear a wire, right?
Yeah, gave Linda Tripp the idea to record her conversations with Monica Lewinsky. But the grand dame has shuffled off this mortal coil. She has passed through the veil to the other side. But not before Commentary Magazine wrote a great obituary for her by not Jonah Gold, not her son, John Podhoretz, her not son. And I know it's hard to keep these guys in track. John Podhoretz's mother is Mitch
hard
Decker.
to keep the sons in track. All of these brilliantly talented sons just hanging around, collected fucking pensions from the conservative media.
So there's a really lovely obituary for Lucienne, 1935 to 2022, in Commentary by John Podhoretz, and I thought we'd dip into that for the end of the show. So it begins. Lucienne Goldberg she owned the term proudly, a broad, a grand broad, big, blousy, sexy, and up for a good time from morning till night. Would you like me to read that again?
I get it. She's a broad. She's a good time Sally.
But sexy is the adjective that I am raising an eyebrow to in this. I mean, like, isn't it? It just, you could, John Podhoretz, I know it's not his mom, but I mean, it's his friend's mom. And it just, I don't know, big, blousy, sexy, and up for a good time from morning till night.
Jonah, let no one say your mom wasn't a big whore.
I mean, she was portrayed by, who's the actress from Justified season 2? What's her name?
Margot Martindale?
Yeah, Margot Martindale. She was portrayed by Margot Martindale in the American Crime Story about the impeachment. It's just, I'm sorry, I mean, no disrespect to Margot Martindale, but if she's portraying you in like a made-for-TV version of your life, I don't think the word sexy is really going to come to mind. Going on, he writes, she was the first and last person I ever knew to spend her days inserting cigarettes into a cigarette holder and smoking them with relish like she was attending the blowout party in Breakfast at Tiffany's. She was my dear, dear friend for 40 years. It was Lucienne, the literary agent, whom I turned to in 1983 when I had my first idea for a book, a parody of TV Guide during the days when parodies were all the rage. She was maybe the only agent in New York at the time who represented conservatives. The day she went out to publishers with the proposal, someone else sold the same concept. The project was not to be, and the version that was ultimately published was a dud. But thank God for its abortive existence, because she became a part of my life and never stopped being so. The idea that in the 80s we were robbed of a TV Guide parody written by John Podhoretz is just something that I don't think I can take on into my brain. There's too much bad stuff in there already. And now I'm just thinking about, a Mandela Effect universe in which that book exists. Lucienne was maybe the most sheerly fun person I've ever known. Full of good high humor and gossip and tales about everyone we ever knew in common. And plenty she only knew, and plenty everybody knew. What a storyteller she was. Cynical and world-weary and finding the humor in just about everything. And she had an essentially comic view of the world in which one way or another we were either all fools or tumblers. She started an anti-women's lib group in the 1970s called the Pussycat League as a joke, and it provoked outrage that absolutely delighted her. She was not a demi-mondaine, but she was a confidant to many who were. A friend of hers who lived on the edge of financial disaster found security in a rent-controlled apartment she rented out by the hour. And by allowing a once famous New York City radio personality with a personal picadillo to study her toes. I don't know where this is going here. Who do you think is the New York radio personality who was into toes? So she's renting out an apartment by the hour to a New York City radio personality who's into toes. Is that what I'm getting here?
He likes feet, and she showed him her feet. That seems to be what he's saying.
I mean,
she's actually got me here. Now I want to know more. Now maybe there's more to Lucienne Goldberg than I thought. I want to hear more of these stories.
I mean, I'm shocked at how horny
"Oh yeah, there was a guy. He had a thing, and she let him look at her feet." Like, wait a minute, what? How do you know about that? For one thing,
well, they were dear friends. Another person who helped her with her news aggregation website in a faraway state, someone whom she never met, to my knowledge, Lucienne, being one of the first people to live most of her life on the internet, called her one day to say she was going to have to take a break because the police had for some reason decided to arrest her for attempting to kill her husband. These friends loved Lucienne because they believed she didn't judge them. Oh, but she did. She did. I mean, that's another throwaway anecdote that's just like, I would like more explanation here. She was around in the early 1960s when JFK was cutting a swath through his aides at the White House, which served as a preparation for the moment she became world famous. That was at the end of January 1998 when she became the public representative of Linda Tripp, the intimate and betrayer of Monica Lewinsky, whose taped phone calls, taped on Lucienne's advice, revealed the relationship between Lewinsky and President Clinton. You've probably forgotten, but I haven't, the hilarious spectacle of 100 reporters standing on the sidewalk at 84th and Broadway in front of Lucienne's building as she calmly and with a Cheshire cat smile replied to the screams of America's journalists. That's not a Linda Tripp question, she would say in her sing-song voice if they asked her what her agenda was here, or the angle, or whatever. And unlike other people who have been in the destroy the president game, she didn't make any bones about it. When Lewinsky Gate ultimately came a cropper, she was even-keeled. If you go at the king, you best still kill the king, she said, and we didn't. What a life lived by this lady here.
I want to know more about the toes. That's all I got out of any of that.
I mean, he goes on to say that
the situation where she's helping out a friend with peccadillos by letting him study her toes. Like, what the fuck does this mean? I need to know.
She goes on to give here. I mean, John goes on to tell a story about how they were eating at a restaurant and Bill Clinton was at, and she told Lucienne, and she came to the restaurant, and then he like schmoozed her for 10 minutes, and then she came away dazzled by his charm and brilliance. To my other dear Goldberg friend Jonah, and to Jonah's fair Jessica, and to Lucienne's namesake, their daughter Lucy, I can only wish they find solace in knowing that they, like me, had been given a gift by God. This great broad was certain loved by her presence in our lives. So R.I.P. to a real one. R.I.P. Bozo. R.I.P. to Lucienne Goldberg. A great broad, just a great broad who we all remember her toes.
I'll remember those toes, don't we, folks?
What do you think, guys? That wrap it up for today's episode?
Yep.
All right.
What I'm getting from the Sleek and finance news is the only safe investment is canned food and shotguns.